the Nation, presented by Intermountain Healthcare. The Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs are in town to take on the 6-3 Raiders in prime time. We got a big show lined up for you. James Jones from NFL Network and Lindsay Rhodes, but the iconic voice of sports, the voice of the Raiders, Brent Musburger, kind enough to join us. And good to have you back, Brent, especially going into this primetime game. You have to be so excited.
Yeah, I really am, JT. You know, in Kansas City, the Raiders coming through with the first victory over the Chiefs since the return of John Gruden, 40-32. As a matter of fact, the Raiders have hit over 50 points in all their games except two. There was that windy day, you recall, in Cleveland, and then last week missed it by a point. So I'm looking for a lot of excitement.
Brent, no one knows this rivalry as good as you. Take us back in the day, the Hunt family and the Davis family and the AFL.
You know, probably the two most important families in the history of the old AFL. And believe me, the merger would not have occurred had it not been for Al Davis becoming the commissioner and Lamar Hunt agreed with him every step of the way, telling the owners, get your checkbooks out. We're going after their quarterbacks. We're going to offer the biggest money in professional sport. I was in Chicago. That got the Hallis family's attention. That got everybody's attention in the NFL back in the day. And they said, ooh, these guys are serious. Let's get together. Then after that, with Hunt and Davis, then remember came Super Bowl III. The NFL at the time, they thought, nothing to this. And the Baltimore Colts went off as 18-point favorites over the New York Jets. How'd that work out? Joe Willie Namath, Broadway Joe, Bachelor's 3 Joe, they won the game. But the two most important families in that merger and the growth of the AFL were beyond a shadow of a doubt, Al Davis and Lamar Hunt. Entirely different kinds of personalities, knew them both well. Al, of course, was a football man through and through. Lamar was a businessman who happened to love football as a spectator. Lamar, very quiet, very understated. Al never understated a day in his life, okay? That's how he was. And those two personalities, they meshed beautifully. And now we have their two sons running these franchises. So it's fascinating to me, having known them as long as I have. It is a great rivalry, by the way, on the field. It has been, as you know, over the last decade, been somewhat one-sided. The Chiefs have dominated until that game about 5 weeks ago, when the Raiders pulled off one big play after another, got on quarterback Patrick Mahomes, and came away with that 8-point win.
Right, you mentioned the two sons. How thankful are you that you're calling the game in the booth with your son? Your son's there with Lincoln Kennedy. With Thanksgiving coming up, what does that mean to you?
You know, family, JT, means everything to me. Arlene and I have been married 57 years, and we've got our two boys who live up in Montana. My grandchildren, I make sure that they get plenty of Raider T-shirts. You know, I'm bringing them up the right way up there in Montana. But family means everything to me, JT. It's the most important thing in the world, and it's great having Scott around as my spotter. He loves being around Raider Nation. He spotted for me in college football and back in the day at ABC and ESPN. So he's been with me all the way. I couldn't operate without him. I wouldn't know who made that. As a matter of fact, when I misidentify one guy making an interception last week, Scott was right there pointing at the right guy. You know what I mean? Got the old man back on the straight and narrow.
He's the best. Let's preview this game. It's a two-back league now. Booker, couple of these scores the last couple of weeks on top of Josh Jacobs. Let's talk about this Raiders running game.
Yeah, you know, JT, you put your finger on it, okay? It is a two-back NFL. You need somebody, not just because of injuries, but because of the grind that these running backs go through. So it's interesting because I knew you were going to ask me about Booker. I went back and looked at some stats quickly on this. The Raiders have had 6 20-plus yard rushing gains this season. Guess what? Devontae Booker has 4 of them. 2 of them were touchdowns. He has our longest run from scrimmage, which, oh, by the way, came against the Chiefs. That was 43 yards, okay? Now, Jacobs has one run of 20-plus yards. Obviously, he's the workhorse. He gets the bulk of the carries. And if you look at his numbers, he is our leading rusher. Jalen Richard has the other one. And unfortunately, it looks like we're going to be without our return man come this weekend because of an injury. And everybody remembers him tiptoeing down the sideline for that touchdown. So Booker has been more than just the average backup. He has been an elite runner, okay? Has a nose for the end zone. So I went back and looked at his career at Denver. And every year it seemed like his touches declined. They were in here. They looked terrible, as you know, last week. And so you really wonder about the management of the Denver Broncos when they let somebody like Booker go as a free agent. But to Gruden's credit and the front office, they snapped him up, and we've got a terrific backup for Josh Jacobs.
Absolutely. And finally, Brent, Pro Bowl voting is underway. Do you have an under-the-radar Raider that you'd be voting for?
You know, this may surprise you. Obviously, because I'm so involved in every play, it's hard for me to say this player is underrated. But I'm going to take one that doesn't get much coverage at all. His name is Trent Sieg. He's our long snapper, okay? Stick with me on this. Since I became the voice of the Raiders, we're now in our third season, he has been the long snapper. So I thought a few minutes ago, Brent, have you ever, and honestly, no, his snaps are perfect, okay? We have Carlson, last year toward the end of the season, kind of a decline. He's been outstanding again this year. Cole, I think, is one of the best punters in the AFC. But I'm going to say our long snapper, Trent Sieg, deserves consideration for the Pro Bowl.
Brent, you know it's an honor of mine to work with you on the pregame show leading into your voice. Thanks so much for doing this. I'll see you Sunday, and have a great Thanksgiving next week.
Yeah, thanks so much, JT. Look forward to seeing you Sunday.
Coming up next, James Jones joins us as we continue on Talk of the...
This has been brought to you by Allegiant, the official airline of the Las Vegas Raiders. Low fares, nonstop flights. Book now, only at Allegiant.com. Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Intermountain Healthcare, helping people live the healthiest lives possible. Presented by San Manuel Casino, official Southern California casino of Allegiant Stadium.
Welcome back to Talk of the Nation from NFL Network. Super Bowl champion James Jones joins us. And James, you played with Derek his rookie year. Let's talk about his growth in the third year in John Gruden's system.
Oh, man, DC, well, number one, I've been saying this since he was a rookie, that DC is special, man. But I just truly feel that you just see how comfortable he is, man, in the third year in the system. I mean, he has weapons on the outside of him. He has two big running backs in the backfield that's making it easy on him as well. But to be honest with you, man, DC is doing everything he can to make his team win. You know what I mean? When he has to make a throw, he is making the throws, you know, and you really could count on your hand really how many bad throws that he's really had this season where you're like, dang, what was he thinking, man? And that just shows you the growth, you know, of the quarterback DC in year three of Gruden's system, man. And I just think, shoot, as they keep going and as they keep building, man, the Raiders got something special going on.
Let's talk about the Raiders receiving room. A lot of high-profile names, but I want to begin with Nelson Agholor. Did you expect him to have this type of production before the start of the season?
You know what? You know, I'm going to pull my coattail a little bit because I did. Before the season started, I said Nelson Agholor is really going to be the guy that is going to really kickstart the Raiders offense, you know, because you're talking about a first round pick who has all the juice in the world, who is quick, who can run all the routes. And I'm like, if he can stay healthy and if he can get back to the Nelson Agholor that we're used to seeing, this Raiders offense could really be dynamic, even with the draft pick of Henry Ruggs. So I'm not surprised at all about Nelson Agholor, man. Nelson Agholor is a big punch waiting to happen, you know what I mean? And I think just for him, it just is all about staying healthy and having the opportunities. And Derek Carr is looking for him. Coach Gruden is getting him involved in the offense early and often, and he's out there making plays, man, and I love to see it. But I did think that he would be one of the ones to have a big year.
James, you were a part of a championship team with the Packers. Do you feel like the Raiders are on the right path? They're building towards a championship.
I do, and the reason why I say that is because it's all about the locker room. And some of the most talented teams that I've been on in Green Bay where we thought, like, man, there's no way we're not going to win a Super Bowl. We look at all the talent we got and all that. We didn't win. But the teams that were really successful and that team that won the Super Bowl, extremely close, extremely close. Did not want to let your brother down, did not care about the money, did not care about your stats, did not care about none of that. All you cared about was winning and making your brother proud and having your brother's back. And those are the teams that go the furthest. And I feel like that is what the Raiders are building. It is a brotherhood. They fight for each other. They love each other. And beyond having any type of talent, that stuff right there is what wins championships.
I wanted to wrap it up with Charles Woodson. You played with him. He's eligible for the Hall of Fame. Give me a great C. Wood memory.
Oh, man, number one, C. Wood is a first ballot Hall of Famer, so we need to check that off the list already, man. But C. Wood, man, one memory I have of C. Wood, man, is when we were playing together in Green Bay. And this is the year he won Defensive Player of the Year. And he had a little toe injury, and I called him soft for his little toe injury. And he sat in the training room Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He never came out to practice. All he did was watch film for 5 days a week, and he came out there picking stuff off, scoring touchdowns, forced fumbles, all that. And I'm like, bruh, how do you come out here and play like that, man? And you ain't even took one snap of practice, man. You know what I mean? And he just told me, he said, hey, when you put food in front of a pit bull, he don't got to practice to go eat that thing. And I said, okay, I got you, brother. I got you. But it was just impressive just to see this dude never practice. I'm talking about for 13 straight weeks in the training room, come out there Defensive Player of the Year. But you don't got to practice, let a pit bull practice if you put food in front of him. He gonna eat it anyway.
Hey, James, you met my sons before on the sideline. They're going to ask me, where'd you get that hat? Where do you get that gear? I don't have that, and I'm here. I'm at the facility. Where'd you get that?
Man, this old school right here, man. I got this when I was playing, but I always leave the stickers on there because that's the Cali swag. But I got this when I was playing for the Raiders, so I don't even remember where I got it, but they gave it to me though.
Thanks so much for doing this. Lindsay Rhodes joins us next when we continue on Talk of the Nation.
Brought to you by Modelo, setting the gold standard for authentic Mexican beer since 1925. Modelo, brewed for those with a fighting spirit.
Welcome back to Talk of the Nation. NFL insider Lindsay Rhodes joins us. Lindsay, so good to see you again. And you grew up in Southern California. Raider Nation has a big presence there. Tell me about their vibe coming into this game against Kansas City primetime.
Well, I think it's safe to say that the Raiders fans are feeling themselves a little bit right now, right? On this win streak and going up against a team that has dominated the division recently, but has lost to them this season. My brother is a massive Raiders fan, so I hear a lot about the Raiders. Though I focus on all 32, I get a lot of Raiders in my ear constantly.
Now, you worked with Mike Mayock for years. What was it like watching his grind? What was that like?
Oh, he's a grinder. There's nothing fluffy about the way that Mike Mayock approaches football. And within the football world, TV world rather, sometimes that can be frustrating to producers and people like that who want to talk about like quarterbacks and needle. And Mike Mayock was always the guy who pushed back against low-hanging fruit and always wanted to dive into in his draft coverage, like that guard that he really loved that was coming out. And so I am not at all surprised that he went into the job that he has now in a front office. And I'm not surprised that he's having the success that he's having in terms of building that roster and creating a competitive team there in Las Vegas.
Now, this is a really big week in the NFL. What could a primetime win do to put the Raiders in the playoff conversation around the league?
Well, I mean, it's massive, right? The Raiders, I think, are one of those teams that everybody's looking at as an also competitive team, right? Like you've got the teams at the top that are the Chiefs and the Steelers, and in the NFC, well, the Bucks. Like, you know, there's a handful of teams up here, the Packers, that people are like, okay, those are amongst the best teams in the NFL. And then there are these other teams that are that second tier that we think very well could get into the playoffs and very well could knock off some of those teams and make a run in the playoffs, but they're not the obvious team that we're just going to go ahead and give a free pass to the playoffs. And so I think a Raiders win against the Chiefs this week in prime time with the entire country watching, to have the chance to sweep them this season, the Chiefs being a team that we all agree is one of the best teams in the NFL, that would be massive in terms of exposure for the Raiders, what they're doing well now. I think a lot of people maybe aren't totally familiar with some of the ways in which they're experiencing success. And I think you can't undersell the importance of just that confidence boost for a team. When you're building, when you see that you can beat the best, and because they did it in week 5 and they can do it consistently, so it's not just a fluke. If they could do it 2 times, I think that what we would see from this Raiders team moving forward would be a big step forward potentially.
Yeah, and you've covered the history of this league. You know this league and these 2 historic franchises. The young fans out there now, do you think they know the history they're seeing Mahomes and Carr right now?
I don't know. That's tough to say. I think that they definitely know the history that they're seeing with Mahomes. I think we all agree that Mahomes is one of those guys that is the type of talent that if he stopped playing right now, you'd have to have a conversation about the Hall of Fame with regards to him, even after such a small sample size, because he's clearly one of the best quarterbacks that have ever played the game. And we already know that, regardless of what he does moving forward. So in terms of Carr, I think it's a big game for Carr. I think this is a big year for Carr, because I think he's somebody who's experienced a lot of what he perceives to be disrespect about the way he plays the game. And I think, I know from talking to his brother a lot in our time at NFL Network, I think that he's coming from, like, so David told me a couple of weeks ago that the problem with the whole ADOT conversation analytics Twitter has about Derek, I just get stuck with the Derek and David thing, that, you know, he obviously was checking the ball down a lot last year, and the ADOT was one of the lowest in the NFL. And David said that was frustrating for him to take all of that flack for that, because it's not that he can't throw the ball downfield, it's that Gruden wanted completions, and that very specifically that was what he was looking for out of his quarterback, was you complete your plays, you move us down the field, we're going to do it methodically. That's the way that they were built last year. So now that he has those weapons to showcase the fact that he can go downfield, that he will be aggressive, and that we're seeing him do that, and we're seeing them have the success that they are on 3rd down, and we're seeing him have the success that he's having on 3rd down. And another thing that David said in our conversation on my podcast, the NFL Roadshow, was that he thinks from his perspective as a quarterback, is that 3rd down is when you really find out how good your quarterback is. And that 1st down, 2nd down, those are about play calling. Those are about taking advantage of like what your coach, the position that they're putting you in. But 3rd down is when you need to go out and you need to make plays. And the fact that Derek has had so much success on 3rd down this year and has been so efficient and has one of the best passer ratings in the league, that tells you a lot about the type of quarterback that he is. And I like what I'm seeing from him this year, that kind of chip on his shoulder and me against the world. And again, it's not all that. It's that he now has the pieces to effectively showcase what he can do, but the whole package together is working.
Well, you have an outstanding podcast. Let's wrap it up. How do you put it together? How much fun are you having with it?
I am having a lot of fun. It's very different than TV. And, you're kind of sitting here in my home office. And then it just goes out to the world and you have no idea like how it's playing. It's a much longer format. In TV, you're used to talking in short clips and asking a lot of questions and not really taking part in the conversation as much. So it's been really fun for me to kind of establish some of the things that I think, and to have longer conversations with very interesting people around the NFL where I get a chance to ask like the 8 follow-up questions to the points that they make. And that's not something that I've had a chance to do much in TV. So I'm really enjoying that. Like I said, I had Louis Riddick on the show this week. He talked about his time with the Raiders and why it was so special to him. And that all goes back to Al Davis and a special phone call that Al Davis made to him that made him a loyal Raider for the rest of his life. David Carr I talked to last week. That's another episode that I think Raiders fans will enjoy, a lot of behind the scenes about Derek Carr, what makes him tick, and what it's like being in the Carr family watching these Raiders games. But yeah, I'm having a really good time. It's the NFL Roadshow. It's available wherever you get podcasts.
Thanks so much, Lindsay. When we come back, my closing thoughts on Talk of the Nation.
Coors Light, an official beer of Raider Nation, made to chill.
The Raiders are looking for a signature win, and boy, could they get one against Kansas City Sunday night in prime time. This is the moment that the Raider Nation has been waiting for. I've talked to insiders, fans. No one expected the Raiders to have an opportunity to sweep the world champs, and they can do it now. Gruden and Mayock have been building to be in this position. Late in the season, a validation game and a sweep. You got to be kidding me. Raider Nation is fired up for this one, and it could happen. Both coaches really respect each other. Andy Reid and John Gruden have been friends for such a long time, but that gets thrown out. Both coaches want this game in the worst way, and the Raiders put themselves in the position with preparation this week to go get it. For everyone at Silver and Black Productions, I'm JT. Have an outstanding Thanksgiving. We'll see you next week.
This has been brought to you by Allegiant, the official airline of the Las Vegas Raiders. Low fares, nonstop flights. Book now, only at Allegiant.com. Coors Light, an official beer of Raider Nation, made to chill. Brought to you by Credit One Bank, the official credit card of the Raiders. Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders.